Welcome back, everyone, to the MSU WMA podcast. I'm your host, Jake Hieronima. With me today, I have our 2021 treasurer, Costa. He is graduating this year with a undergrad degree in finance here at Michigan State, and he's pursuing a full-time position in Chicago. Thanks for coming on today, Costa.
Yeah, absolutely. It's good to be the interviewee instead of the interviewer, I guess.
Yeah, it's good to see you, man. Hope your summer's going well so far.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so we'll just dive right in right now. So, what interested you in a career in finance, and why did you choose Michigan State as your school?
Yeah, so I chose Michigan State. Both my parents work here. My dad's the head swim coach, and my mom works in the College of Agriculture and Natural Resources. So I kind of grew up around Michigan State. I would be on campus as a kid a lot, going to football games, basketball games, just kind of hanging out with my dad and at the pool and stuff like that. So I was always growing up like close to Michigan State. So it was always something I was kind of like raised to go to MSU, if that makes sense. And then in terms of finance, I actually got my junior year, yeah, the end of my junior year, early senior year of high school. I got really interested in the financial crisis of 2008. And that really sparked my interest in finance and just investigating more on my own, learning about as much as I could within finance. And then coming to MSU, obviously the business school was where I was targeting. And then I was able to get in and studied finance. And then, like you said, just graduated about a week ago. So.
Nice. So yeah, I know you worked at Plante Moran last summer. So how did that benefit you to work a full-time position here after undergrad?
Yeah, the internship was really cool. Obviously, it was last year, which like COVID was happening, so it was all online. But they did a really good job to make it seem as in person as possible. So and they also did a good job of getting us into like real life situations. So I came into that internship with not a whole lot of experience in terms of like wealth management or financial planning. I'd had a previous internship in finance, but it was more of a corporate finance role, so not really related. But I learned a ton in the shortened amount that we were there. It was supposed to be, I think it was supposed to be something like 10 weeks, and it was only 6. But they really jammed a lot of it and a lot of good material into the 6 weeks and really made it worthwhile. And then coming out of that, a lot of the stuff translated it over into interviews, just talking about like different softwares I use, different client meetings I sat in, what I liked, what I didn't like. And that was instrumental in helping me get the role with Altair that I'll start in about 2 months.
Yeah, learning some of those softwares like Money Guide Pro and some of the other ones really benefit you, in school as well as a full-time position after school. So tell
Yeah,
me a little bit
absolutely.
what
So
your
yeah, it's funny actually that you mentioned that. So we actually, for our advanced wealth management class, we did a Money Guide Pro. So I had already had some experience. So it's funny that you say that.
right. Yeah, I'm actually for my internship right now, I'm doing like Money Guide Pro and
Yeah.
some other things like Redtail and stuff. So um tell me about your full-time offer this year in Chicago. That's pretty exciting. Chicago, man.
Yeah, I'm excited. Chicago's somewhere that I wanted to be. Obviously, like there's a big Spartan presence there, and wider Big Ten audience or presence rather, in Chicago. So I felt like I'd have a good network to kind of grasp onto once I got down there. My aunt actually lives down there too. But the role is essentially like a junior advisor. So it's called associate consultant. So I'll come in and kind of it'll be very similar to my role with Plante Moran as an intern. I'll just kind of come in and learn the ropes a lot. Obviously, I'll pass the CFP by that time, hopefully, and then just continue to get experience. And then they expect me to kind of start to build my own book within you know a decent amount of time of being at the firm. So yeah, I'm excited. I actually was talking to my the woman who works there and interviewed me couple days ago and said I'm really excited to get down there. I'm starting to get a little worn out and bored of being in EL. but I'm excited to get down to Chicago for sure.
Yeah, dude, that's really exciting. Your classmate here, Derek Cushman's moving down to Chicago as well.
I
He's working
saw
for
that.
Oppenheimer.
Yeah,
So
I saw that. So like I
you guys
said,
might be neighbors.
yeah, there's a huge Spartan presence down there. So that's one of the reasons I wanted to go down there.
Yeah. So switching topics a little bit. So you were the podcast host this entire year,
Mhm.
interviewed some great guests. Downtown Josh Brown,
Mhm.
Ben Carlson. Who was your favorite guest you interviewed this year?
Oh man, that's a tough one. I mean, first off, I enjoyed interviewing all of them. It was an awesome experience and getting to talk to those guys that I follow them on Twitter. I see them posting a lot. They have a ton, especially the Ritholtz guys, of their own content that they put out. Um, so it was really cool to get to meet them and talk to them for 45 minutes to an hour. And then especially in Josh Brown's case, like having him to the summit was awesome as well. In terms of like a favorite guest, I really enjoyed interviewing Mark Cicchini. He is my aunt's brother, so I had already known him a little bit before the interview, so it was really relaxed. We had a really great conversation, and then afterwards, after we recorded, he gave me a lot of great advice about just breaking into the industry and what to do in the first couple of years. So that was a really cool interview. But like I said, I liked all of them.
Yeah. Is there anyone that you didn't have you didn't interview that was on your radar that you would like to see us bring on the podcast this year?
Oh yeah, for sure. I think Michael Batnick from Ritholtz. We basically got everybody except for him, or rather the major content producers besides him. But I mean, there's a ton of advisors out there. I know like the AGC is huge, and Justin Castelli is one of the founders of that who we've already had on. So if you guys could get through all of those, that would be awesome. Obviously, like now that we have some people moving on into well, I guess the real world, being me and some of the other senior board e-board members, it'd be cool to like have us back on maybe in a year or two or something like that, or have some of the people that we're working with on. That would be cool too. But there's tons of advisors, and the cool thing that we've experienced this year is that everybody was super willing to lend their time and do an interview. So I think that trend will definitely continue. And like I said, now we've got some real roots out into the professional world as well.
Yeah, we're definitely going to need the grads' presence next year at the meetings
Yeah,
because we're definitely going to need you guys' tips and advice for the real world for
yeah,
the underclassmen. So
absolutely.
you've been on WMA for what, 2.5 years, three
Yeah,
years?
about yep.
So what was your favorite memory that you had over these 3 years?
Oh, that's a tough one. As much as it was uh challenging to do the meetings online this year, I think this whole year and especially this second semester was awesome because we really increased WMA's outreach. We added a whole bunch of new positions, as obviously being on the Spartan Journal and everything. But yeah, so I'd say probably this last semester, and then specifically like the summit went really really well. That was one of my more favorite things that we did this year. And yeah, so I guess it would be the summit. But like I said, I enjoyed all of it. I've enjoyed all my time here in WMA, and I'm excited to see where you guys go in the future.
Yeah, I'm super pumped. We're actually in the process of, getting the speakers ready for next summit. So it's gonna, last year's was great, but we plan on making this year's even better, right? So
Yeah, yeah, as it should be.
right, right. So is there any advice that you'd give an undergrad that would make themselves more presentable or more attractive to employers?
Yeah, I think just being honest with when you're interviewing and when you're applying for jobs, being honest about what you are bringing to the table. I think a lot of times kids get caught up in the fact that they have to go into an interview and have 3 pages worth of resume experience, or they have to have worked at X, Y, and Z. And I think if you can come into an employer and tell them exactly what you're bringing to the table, whether that's like a strong work ethic, a willingness to learn, and to be be open in your communication. I think that they appreciate that a lot more than, um, obviously the resume experience is good, but I think that if you can kind of communicate your skills, that's huge to employers, especially in our field, because you have to have strong communication skills to be a financial advisor. Aside from that, really just taking any opportunity that you can. And I'm not talking just specifically like professionally, but for example, getting involved in WMA, or I know FPA has the externship, which is huge. That was huge for a couple of our members. I know Oscar did that. Um, so just really trying to like jam pack your schedule and get as much stuff that could possibly go on your resume as possible. That's going to be huge too, even if it's not necessarily like internships or jobs and stuff like that. Volunteer experience, for example, would be another one.
Yeah, I feel that. I'm working like 40-hour plus weeks right now. So,
Yeah,
and it's in person. So it's definitely a change of scenery from online classes for the past, year and a half. So
right.
I'm excited to get back in, the door, right?
Yeah,
Be back
yeah,
in the
fully in
office.
person. Yeah, yep.
Yeah. So what are your plans this summer? Are you, studying for the CFP, and when do you start your full time?
So I start, my official start date is July 14th, but I'll probably move down to Chicago a little bit earlier than that, just to kind of get accustomed to the city. And hopefully by that time we're back in person. I just saw the other day that um, Chicago's supposed to be fully open by July 4th. That's what they're predicting, at least now. So hopefully we're back in person by then. But in terms of from now to then, I'm just trying to study for the CFP and pass it in July, just before I get started. It's the tests actually take place over the week, um, right before I start, so I've passed it and then start immediately. But yeah, I'm just kind of hanging out in EL, studying for the CFP.
Yeah, which book do you have? Which one are you using right now?
So I went with Danko. We had him at the summit, as I'm sure you remember, and
Mhm.
he really pitched his service well. So I figured I might as well go with him. It's nice that he kind of condenses a lot of the material down, so you only have to kind of, you can get through a lot of it quickly, which is important. And then just, reviewing it, doing practice problems and stuff like that. He's got a lot of stuff, a lot of resources.
So what should a student interested in advising be, reading or listening to in college? And what recommendations have you, you know, been recommended, or, you've been consuming for the past couple months?
Yeah, I mean, I'm gonna kind of sound like a broken record here. I'm sure anybody who's in the field has heard this, but like Wall Street Journal is huge. Just getting that, like I have the app on my phone, so I get all the notifications. At least I'm getting the headlines, even though I'm not maybe diving into every article. Aside from that, WMA, the podcast is huge. We've got um, professionals in the industry that are like giving their life story and sort of how to get into the industry if that's what you're looking for. Um, Aside from that, we also have a reading list on the website, on WMA's website. I think one of the best books I've read in the past like year or so was The Psychology of Money, and I'm actually rereading it. It's a super, speaking of condensed, but it's very straightforward, to the point, no like fluff or anything, and it's really well written. So I'd recommend that one. Aside from that, you can kind of just Google like best books to read in finance or something like that, and most of them get repeated. Most people will tell you kind of the same books, but like Intelligent Investor is one. I got a couple over there. I really liked Flash Boys. That's by Michael Lewis. That talks about just like high frequency trading, which is a little obscure, but it was well written and was a good story. So I like that one. Yeah, but like I said, you know, we've got a reading list. Everybody has a reading list. So just kind of get out there and dive into stuff.
Yeah, Justin gave me the Intelligent Investor here like 3 months ago. It's
Mhm.
a thick book. I'm like more than halfway through, so I'm getting there. Hopefully, I'll be done by the end of the summer. But
Yeah.
it's taken me a little bit just because I'm so busy with everything.
Yeah,
But
that one's like the opposite, like of Psychology of Money. It's so thick and tough to read because it's very old. But again, like there's a lot of stuff. I read that like my freshman or sophomore year, and a lot of that stuff gets covered in classes, or at least like somewhat. You have a baseline when you go into classes or like a job or something like that. But like aside from like books and stuff, like some podcasts I listen to will be like Animal Spirits, obviously WMA podcast. The Compound Show is good. Those are both Rit Holtz ones. There's a bunch of other ones. You can kind of just Google best business podcasts and find a list. But yeah, I mean, just consuming that material on a regular basis and really diving into it is going to help a lot.
Yeah. So what's your favorite story from MSU? What was your greatest memory? Probably some of the best 4 years of your life.
Yeah, my greatest memory, I guess, I would say probably graduating. Like it's a little bit of recency bias there, but it was awesome. It was one of the first like in person, like real official in person events that we've had in like a year and a half almost. So that was really cool for them to do that. Although it was raining and cold, but which kind of sucked. But it was, like I said, being in person was awesome. Aside from that, I don't know, man. There's a ton of stuff. I could probably like give you like a whole podcast of just like all the stuff that I've gone through here and like all the memories I have. But meeting some great friends, obviously within WMA, but then also outside, like in the business school, or I went on a study abroad my freshman year. I'm still friends with a lot of the kids who went on that. One of them's actually my roommate. Two of them are my roommates. Um, but yeah, I mean, MSU was one of, like you said, probably the greatest 4 years of my life up until this point. So, yeah.
Man, dude, good conversation today.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for having me on. Obviously, I'll be looking out for the next couple podcasts that you guys are putting out.
If you liked what you just heard, please like, comment, and share. This is Vincent Pacillo, producer of the MSU WMA podcast. MSU WMA, or Michigan State University Wealth Management Association, is a student organization part of the Eli Broad College of Business located in East Lansing, Michigan. Our mission is to inspire and educate the next generation of financial planners. Thank you for listening to today's episode. If you enjoyed it, please check out our channel on all platforms such as Spotify and Apple Podcast. And check out our social media at MSUWMA and MSUWMA.com.